Baie dankie. Ek waardeer dit so baie.
And with that, Happy New Year, folks. It is nearly midnight here on the East Coast of the United States, 11:06 p.m. on December 31st, 2023. There's a super chat from Brett Sessoms. Thank you, Brett. Talking about the ANC trying to get attention for itself while complaining about Israel at the International Court of Justice and ignoring Hamas and its actions. Welcome back to the program, folks. It's morning and tomorrow already in South Africa. It's still last year in the United States. Just now approaching midnight, and then, of course, Central, Mountain, Pacific, and then, of course, Alaska and Hawaii will catch up with us a little bit later on. Welcome to the program, and Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you're well out there. Thanks for joining, and thanks, Brett. That might be the last Super Chat of the year. We'll see. Val Cooper says, good morning. First day of 2024 has arrived. Best wishes to all. And, yeah, Mississippi is on the Central Time right now. And then Esther Coates is here. Chris Murray, hello to you. And Arctic is in. Wow, Arctic is up late. Must be prepping for the New Year's. So we're just a short time away from midnight. Got to be honest with you, folks. I hope it's something else, but I've got a bad feeling I've got another abscess forming on the opposite side of my mouth now from where it was this side earlier this year, which cost me a fortune. I've been in extreme pain, although it doesn't seem to be increasing. Initially, I thought it was just the nerve. I have a very sensitive filling over there that's close to the nerve. And sometimes if I grind my teeth when I'm asleep or if I've bitten down on something too hard, it gives me, it swells and gives me excruciating pain for a few days. It's been that way for a few days, but now I'm questioning whether it's actually an infection from tooth decay. I don't know. But bottom line is I'm in a lot of pain right now. I almost scratched this broadcast tonight. I'm hoping that it's simply just the nerve that's acting up and it's not an abscess, because that was quite a painful root canal effort that I had to go through last time. So anyway, let's hope that it's nothing serious. It's the last thing I need right now to be dealing with that. But remember, earlier this year when I had that abscess on the other side of my mouth and I was still broadcasting, it was quite a painful experience. The whole thing was not pleasant, but let's hope it's not that, folks. Anyway, yeah, I just wish that when I was very young, I had known about proper dental hygiene and taken better care of my teeth as a kid. So, yeah. Well, I don't want it fixed. I'm hoping it just goes away. If it's just the nerve, it'll just go away. It happens periodically. I have a bad feeling this might be different this time, though. But anyway, so that's just the deal. So, yeah, thank you for your concern. I think the recent elections will be good for Liberia in the future. Yeah, President-elect Bokai, I know him personally. He's a good person, but he's really old, and not much is going to change in Liberia. The problem with Liberia, of course, is that Liberians don't make anything except babies. That's all they make in Liberia is babies, and people aren't interested in making things. Let me give you an anecdotal story about why Liberia is in the crap that it's in. First off, in Liberia, you can grow something pretty much anywhere. The ground will grow things. It doesn't take a lot of fertilizer, and it certainly doesn't take a lot of water because it rains all the time. Yeah, and you can pretty much grow, especially rice. Rice will grow very well in Liberia. But the variety of rice that's grown in Liberia is butter rice, or as the Liberians call it, country rice. And they say that derogatively. They're larger grains, and they're not as tasty and fine as, say, parboiled rice. Liberians have a penchant and a taste for parboiled rice. Well, I have a penchant and taste for caviar. No, not really. But when you have a taste for the finer things in life, you ought to be able to afford them. Well, the Liberians can't afford it because they can't grow parboiled rice in Liberia, just the country rice. And Liberians turn their nose up at it. So they'd rather go hungry than eat country rice. As a consequence, Liberians import virtually all of their rice. And where do they import it from? Places that shouldn't be growing rice, like Pakistan. Yeah, that just shows you the arrogance. And this is one reason why Liberia is in the crap that it's in. That and the fact that much of their very talented human capital resides in Montgomery, Prince George's County, Maryland, as well as Chicago, and elsewhere in the United States. Liberians here instead of where they belong in Liberia. And of course, they sit here and they lobby and try to force our Congress to give more money to Liberia all the time, while few of them give any of their treasure and fortune to Liberia. But they're happy to lobby and demand that Congress give our money to Liberia. We've given Liberia billions of dollars since 2006. The results are mixed. Poverty remains endemic. Health remains a serious concern. And Liberians, by and large, do not take care of their country. Now, there are exceptions. There's some very talented, hardworking, dedicated Liberians, but also a lot of lazy, useless people who are just leeches. I can tell you from personal experience, I've watched families destroyed while one productive member tries to run a business and the other members of the family eat them from inside out and destroy their businesses. It's a really sad situation. It's not unique to Liberia, but it's certainly very much a West African phenomena. Whether it's Anglophone or Francophone countries, it's the same thing. You can easily find in Liberia one breadwinner and an extended family of 15 to 30 people who leech off of that one person. Most of them are able-bodied adults and too lazy or lack of gumption to go do something and create a business or hustle for work. It's really sad, but it is true. Just pull it. That's why I pulled mine. I also grind my teeth at primary school. We learned how to take care of your teeth, but I still lost my teeth. Hester, I did not learn how to take care of my teeth until I was nearly 30. And by then, a lot of damage had been done. They're still nice teeth, but that loss of time and good hygiene cost me. Yeah, so no, I'm not going to pull my teeth. No, there's no way. These are my teeth. These are all my teeth. There's no implants. There's no false teeth. I'm nearly 60, and I have all of my teeth. And until today, they're all healthy. But again, I'm hoping that it's just the nerve. There is a large filling on that side of the mouth, and that filling is very sensitive. And sometimes the nerve gets inflamed when I bite down on it too hard. So I'm hoping that's all it is. But if it is an abscess, then I'll let you know because it's going to cost me some money. Yep. Val says, I can stay awake to stay tuned. Haven't been asleep yet. Feel for you, Chris. Just last week, suffered the same painful tooth. Yeah, it really sucks when you have that. Tooth pain is among the most debilitating pains out there, folks. There's other pains that are really bad, but just everyday pain, that's one of the worst. Gina Molman says, Happy New Year. Good evening to you, Gina, and Happy New Year to you. What about Firestone rubber in Liberia? Well, here's the thing, Brett, and this is the thing. The Liberians think that they have Firestone over a barrel. And, of course, most of them are very poorly informed about Firestone. They're living in a time warp from the 1940s, and they think Firestone is an American company. It's not. Firestone is owned by the Japanese. It has been owned by the Japanese for well over 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. The Japanese are not stupid. They know the long historical ties between Liberia and what they believe are ties to the United States, and that Firestone was an American company. And so the Japanese keep American Firestone employees working and keep the name Firestone at their rubber plantations in Liberia. Now, the latex that Liberia produces is natural latex. But the problem is that natural latex is barely used in modern industrialization. Artificial rubber is what's used, which is produced in most factories. Natural latex represents just 1% of rubber production globally. 1% of all the rubber produced is from natural latex, whereas 100 years ago, 100% came from natural latex. That's why so many trees were necessary and all the sap was tapped. And that's why Liberia was critically important in the Second World War as a source of rubber for the Allied war machine. Critically important. Also, it was an important place for a retransmission site in West Africa. But times have changed, and Liberians haven't realized this. The Firestone rubber plantation produces 1% of the 1% that Firestone Corporation uses to produce tires. So they're a rounding error. The parent company of Firestone could shut down the Firestone rubber plantation in Liberia and would notice virtually no change in their bottom line. Firestone rubber plantation historically has been incredibly generous to Liberians. Unlike other labor employers, they have provided free housing, free schooling, free clinics, and free transportation to their employees. Incredibly generous. It is worth noting in a telling story that during the 13-year Liberian Civil War, none of the group's rebels or government forces ever harassed, interdicted, or went on a rampage on the Firestone rubber plantation, which is located at Harbel, which is named after the wife of the guy who started the plantation there. So I've been to the Firestone rubber plantation. I've been all through it, taking soldiers there to camp and also visiting it and getting briefings from Firestone. And I've also played on the golf course there, which is interesting. There's no grass on the golf course on the tees. It's simply sand coated in oil. Yeah, that's right, folks. Sand coated in oil. A strange way to play golf, but I did play golf there. Yeah, so Firestone rubber plantation is not the Achilles heel to American foreign policy that Liberians suppose it is. In fact, it's not even American. But the Americans don't have any objection to continuing the illusion that Firestone is an American operation with American managers, with white boys there running the program, because it keeps relations with the Liberian government. But it is not a particularly important player. It is a major employer in Liberia, along with the iron mines up in Bong County. It is one of the major employers. So it is important to Liberians, but not to anybody else. Does that answer your question, Brett? Just had teeth extracted due to infection. It's no friggin' joking. Yeah, I know. I had it earlier this year. Had an incredible root canal. And I say incredible because the roots of that tooth didn't go straight down to my jaw. They went straight down and then bent sideways like that. So they went down into my jaw and bent sideways, which instead of a straight root went like that. Incredibly difficult to get the decay out. But the orthodontist, or whatever the term is for those guys, was quite successful and got it all out. I'm hoping that's not what it is over here. How was Monrovia? Well, wildly overcrowded, filthy, and dilapidated when I lived there. You have to understand that I lived there just in the aftermath of a civil war. I was back there a few years ago, and it was better with newer buildings and some improvements, some new hotels on the way out towards the airport, and it was getting better. But you have to understand, the Liberians destroyed what was, in some respects, the jewel of West Africa. Back during the 1960s and 70s, before civil war struck with Samuel Doe in 1980, Liberia was the place where diplomats throughout the region traveled to enjoy themselves. Monrovia, which was a city of just 300,000 back then, now it's a city of over 1 million. A city of just 300,000, or 250,000, excuse me, had nightclubs, restaurants, people spoke English, Americans were welcome, Westerners were very welcome, and it was a very safe and appealing place to go. Not to mention, a lot of folks would go to the American sites, like, for instance, the Voice of America site located out in Carysburg, which eventually became known as Camp Sandy S. Ware, which we rehabilitated and turned into a military base. But the Voice of America retransmission site out there had all kinds of equipment and had also an odd golf course. They had a, was it 12-hole golf course or something like that, which is unusual, but I think it was 12 holes. And they had lodging out there for the entire American contingent that lived out there, and there was a nightclub out there. And so people go out there as well. Plus people went to Liberia to go surfing up in the northwest corner of Liberia along the northwest coast. There's some very good surfing there. In fact, when I was in Liberia, there were Australians who came all the way to Liberia for the surfing. They actually came. I had no idea. They came to Liberia for the surfing. Now, where's that surfing at? I have to take a look at the map real quick. Maps, because I'm drawing a blank right now. The name of that town. It's been so long. But the waves apparently are quite good and consistent, reliable, and a nice challenge for surfers. So let me get over there. Robertsport, that's where it was. Out by Robertsport. That's where there are really good waves out there, apparently. Monrovia has one good hotel, the rest is filth. Well, which hotel are you talking about? And I can tell you, because I've stayed in it. So which hotel are you talking about? The Mamba Point Hotel? That's the one I've been in. You got the Atlantis Beach Hotel, which is there, but the Mamba Point Hotel is just around the corner from the old American Embassy, which is now moved up to a different compound. Yeah, in fact, I'm looking at the map here. It says original American Embassy. Then it has the delegation of the European Union, Alliance Française, and then across from that is the Embassy of the United States. Yep, exactly. So the Mamba Point Hotel, which I've stayed at. Yep. So is that the one you're talking about, Arctic? You got the Royal Hotel. You got a couple other hotels, but the Mamba Point is the one. Yes, dental surgery is expensive. Brad, as I discovered with no health care as a military person, cost me $1,300 for that tooth. A lot of money. That's over 20,000 Rand for one tooth. You think it's possible to keep strong natural teeth right through all it? It is, right, R1. If you have consistent calcium, if you floss properly, and if you brush properly, absolutely. The only reason I still have any teeth is because I learned how to floss. In my 30s, I was finally taught how to floss properly. And everywhere I go, you will find this in my possession. When you see me in South Africa again, ask me, where's your glide? Now, I've had this so long, I've worn the letters off of that used to say glide on there. So this is an emergency one I keep, and you can see that it's running quite low on the dental floss. I floss frequently, otherwise I probably wouldn't have any teeth with all the stuff that builds up in there. Yep, no. It is possible to have good, healthy teeth all the way through life. There are people who've been centenarians who died with their natural teeth in the mouth. The problem we have is that our modern diets are very heavy in sugars, and sugars are bad for your teeth. They combine and form acid and eat through the enamel. So if you avoid sugars, you can take care of your teeth, but you've got to keep everything out of there. You don't need any rot in there. Turning 72 this week, still have some of my own teeth. The toothless years bit me on the bum. Ouch. Yep, Chris Marie's parents are still in the 80s and still have all their teeth. It is possible. Yep. So close together, maybe flossing is for people who have teeth that are more separate. No. I will tell you, R1. Here's the secret, brother. Glide, which is made from Kevlar. This is the stuff. Glide is incredible. I was introduced to this stuff back in 1992 when I went to Israel. That's when I was introduced. So 32 years ago is when I was introduced to this stuff. This stuff is good. I used to use the floss, and I would always just shred it and tear it up because of the angle of my teeth. But this stuff, no matter how tight your teeth are, if you just work it carefully, and I'm not trying to be rude here. My mouth is clean, folks. There's no debris in there. So Glide is the secret. I have a few spots where the teeth are very tight, and it works very well. So that's the secret. Even if I don't have time to brush my teeth, I will floss frequently on a flight because it's too difficult to get up to go to the bathroom and brush. So I always have in my Great White Hunter vest, usually in the bottom right-hand pocket, a packet of Glide. I spend money for these. I keep one on my desk. I keep one in my living room in case I happen to be eating when I'm watching television or something like that. I keep one in my carry bag. The one you always see me carry, my black bag, has Glide. Everywhere I go, I have Glide to clean my teeth out. And yeah. Your gums should only bleed when you floss if they're unhealthy. If you have gingivitis, you're going to cause your gums to bleed. But if you floss and your gums are bleeding, don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged. Continue to brush your teeth and floss regularly, and your dental health will improve. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Dental health is critically important. It is critically important. Poor dental hygiene and poor dental health can lead to stroke, heart attack. I'm not making this up. Talk to a dentist. Hell, look it up on Google. It's true. You must take care of your teeth. It's one of the reasons why we have dentists in the military. Dental health is critically important, and one of the major reasons why soldiers are non-deployable. No, my gum is not bleeding when I floss, no matter how hard I jam in there. Now, occasionally, if I let my dental hygiene slip a little bit, then I'll get a spot where I might get some bleeding in there. But also, I have a couple of crowns, and they go right down to the gum line, so I have to be careful when I floss in those cases. Yeah, the Army will reject you with poor dental health. Absolutely. In South Africa, Oral-B Satin. Is that what Glide is called in South Africa? Because Oral-B, I think, is a company that makes Glide. I wish it had the name on it here, but I can't read it. It's all been worn off. But yeah, actually, it's on the back here. Let me see what it says on the back, because it's raised plastic on the back. On the back, it says, distributed by Procter & Gamble. That wasn't what I was looking for. Hey, Brett gave a super chat, and Brett says $1.09 on what caused the Liberian Civil War and why so brutal. That might be the last super chat, Brett. I'll get to that in just a second, but Procter & Gamble. So, yeah. What does this say? It says... This Glide wasn't even made in America. It's made in Toronto, Ontario. I didn't know that they made Glide in Canada. But it's made from Kevlar, the same stuff that protects bulletproof vest. That doesn't mean you can't shred it. You can shred this stuff, but this is much more durable. And it's also not stringy. Traditional floss is like a string, and that can cut your gums. What I like about this is it has a softer edge, but it's very effective. So it's more like a ribbon. So if you look at Glide up close, I don't know if you'll be able to see that on the camera, but it's not a string. It's more like a ribbon. And so it much better gets down around the gum line without tearing your gums. And I get carried away. I like the floss, and I use this all the time. People use those little things. They're on plastic, and then what you do is leave plastic all over the place. I think it's kind of disgusting. Whereas Glide can be disposed of properly in a bin. This here, I always put a little bit between each finger, and I just do that. So, yep. But flossing is critically important for your dental hygiene, and that's a key factor in keeping your teeth. Yeah, Oral-B satin. Yeah, same thing. It's pricey, but your health is worth it, folks. Trust me. Was the Liberian Army, what caused the Liberian Civil War? Well, the Liberian Civil War was caused by corruption and greed and malgovernance. That's what caused it. So when Samuel Doe was overthrown, pretty brutal. You know, they cut his testicles off and fed him to him before they murdered him. Yeah, pretty sick. Yeah. Yeah, Val, when your mouth is healthy and you flossed, it feels so nice because you run your tongue over your teeth. And it just feels so good because they're clean. Absolutely. Looks like tape, not fishing line. Exactly, R1. It looks like tape, not fishing line. And that's a difference. That's a difference. Instead of that string that cuts into your gums, this stuff can glide, no pun intended, along your gums at the base of your teeth, and you can get out that nasty stuff. Yep. Dental floss handy for sewing buttons back on. Well, I suppose that's true, Val. I hadn't thought about that. Just don't buy the brands. Yeah, no, you have to buy that one. So there you go. Oral-B satin. That's the one in South Africa. So you are correct, Chris Marie. Chris Marie has nice teeth. She takes care of her teeth. And I'm not going to give her age away, but she takes care of her teeth. Yep. She might have tipped us off to her age when she mentioned her parents were in their 80s. Just saying. Sorry, Chris Marie. The war was so brutal because moral standards decayed, and it just really is. I mean, I saw a horrific video purporting, I don't know where it's at, to be Muslim soldiers in Nigeria. I said purporting. I don't know if this is true, but it was true. I watched them hack off a healthy person's lower left leg in the middle of it and hold him down and then stick his leg in his face. Sickening. And that's the sort of thing that was happening in Liberia. It was really twisted. Really twisted. And what happened in neighboring Sierra Leone was even worse, guys. I mean, they would go into camp, they would in villages, they'd take the adults, they'd tie them up, they'd take their kids, they'd tell the kids to murder their parents or have sex with them and then murder them, execute them. And if they didn't do it, they'd get the kids hopped up on drugs. And they'd have them murder their own parents or chop their hands off. It was really sick. Truly twisted. Child soldiers in Sierra Leone, something else. Brett says, dental flossing is vital. I admit that I struggle to remember to do so. Still, what's this? No matter how good you take it. Keita are to go to the dentist, though. Well, yeah, you should see the dentist a couple times a year. I haven't done that because I don't have dental care. I haven't gone to the dentist a couple times. In the Army, it's required. They'll get on you if you don't go. And so I habitually went to the dentist in the Army. And that's another reason why I still have my teeth, because I would have better teeth if I hadn't spent so much time in Africa because I had no dental care. See, that's the thing. I spent 2 decades in Africa and had no tooth extractions and retained all of my original teeth. Yep. Now, that's no small feat because I had no dental care. Only periodically when I travel back to the States would I get occasional dental care. But normally at a military assignment, you have dental clinics there and you get care at least twice a year. And anytime something goes wrong, you go and you get taken care of. Didn't have that available to me in Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Niger, Mauritania, Uganda, Ethiopia, or Tunisia, any of those places. So the fact that I still have my teeth is even more amazing. Whereas all the other people are soldiers being stationed, even if they go into Iraq in a combat zone, there are dentists deployed there. Yeah, so they, but in a combat zone, they don't sit around and do root canals. They do extractions. They just rip your teeth out. So you want to have dental care during peacetime. Charles Taylor was a big part of the youth employment. Was the Liberian Army able to get proper health care? No, not even remotely. Not even when I was there. There was no dental care whatsoever. People went to a dentist and had their teeth extracted. Chris Bree says, I think so. We don't have Glide, but Oral-B satin gets in between. I think it's pretty much the same. When you trained Liberian Army, did you help improve the medical and dental care? No, I didn't have anything to do with the dental care. It was not something that was at my disposal. What I did do was we did improve the medical care, though. There was no medical care. We created medical care. Before my arrival, my predecessor had a military mission. It came down, and we had Air Force combat medics train the new Liberian soldiers who were medical students. They trained 18 medics and I think it was, let me get my math right. I think maybe it was 24 medics and 3 medical supply technicians or something like that. Yeah, I think that's something was. Yeah, anyway, something like that. And they became the primary care. We later got a couple of nurses provided by the Ministry of Defense who got them seconded to the Defense Force. And then as far as doctors, when we were there, we would send them for medical care to doctors that we paid for in Liberia. Once we left, the Liberians couldn't sustain that. We knew that. So it was only to keep the force healthy and viable, and they had something they had to come up with on their own. They do get, I think, a small stipend for health care now, but it's not like in the West. No. Yeah, it is very expensive, yes, but it's worth it. Still need to go to the dentist, says Brett. Yeah, you do. Keep your dental floss by your nightstand before you go to sleep. I do. I keep it right next to me. No dental insurance is good motivation to take care of your teeth. It is, Janet. It is a good motivation to take care of your teeth. But so is the realization that you weren't taught properly as a child, and as a consequence, you tried. I mean, our one's talking about, floss and bleeding gums. That's what I learned. I mean, I didn't know. No one ever taught me to use dental floss. I just bought it one day when I was a teenager in college and started using it, and I used it improperly, and I would cut my gums open, and it was discouraging, and I didn't know better. But when I went in the Army, I had just 2 fillings. 2 fillings. One of them was from a tooth that broke. I had a tooth that had an unusual growth pattern, and it wound up breaking when I was in college. I went to the Ohio University Dental Clinic, and for I think $18, I think is what I had to pay or something like that. They put a filling in, but the tooth was broken, so they put it very close to the gum line. That eventually wound up being a crown years later. But the Army kept wanting putting a crown on it for years, and I refused. But it was it was on this side on the top. Besides actually bothering me, it was on the top. And that tooth was almost down to the gum line, and there was a huge filling in it, so it was sensitive. Eventually, I allowed them to do it, and they wound up putting a crown in there. So, yeah, but I only had 2 fillings. But then after spending 3.5 years in the Army and being on maneuvers all the time in the field, up 2 and 3 days at a time, jumping from place to place, no showers for days on end, my oral hygiene routine declined markedly. Not that it was great, because I didn't know how to take care of my teeth, and as a consequence, I got lots of cavities and got a whole bunch of fillings when I was in the Army the first time. I've probably gotten fewer fillings since I left the Army in 1989, from then on, than I got from 1984 to 1987. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Janet's always had good dental care. Well, I had great dental care in the Army when it was available to me. I have no complaints about Army dental care. They've done fantastic work. Amazing stuff. Absolutely amazing stuff. Your teeth never stops moving as you age. Okay. All right. How are U.S. Army dentists compared to civilian dentists? Brett, I don't have a lot of experience with civilian dentists. I did have that root canal done by a civilian dentist, and I must say it was really good. I had another root canal. I've had 2. And that root canal was a few years ago when I was on active duty. I was sent all the way down to Lancaster, which is a long drive from Carlisle, and I was told that it would be not painful. They injected me with, with the sedative, and oh my gosh, it was unbelievably painful. I could feel them touching the nerve. I almost went through the chair. I gripped the arm so tightly. That was terrible, and that wasn't nearly as complicated a root canal as the one I had last year or earlier this year. That one, I was terrified it was going to be painful, like the last one I had when I was in the Army, done by a civilian. This is done by a civilian as well, but this was really well done. The dentist is fantastic. He took his time. He did it very well. Very professional, and I've had no problems with the tooth since then. I don't have a lot of experience with civilian dentists. Most of my experience is with military dentists, and what I can say is they're top-notch. I've never had shoddy work from a dentist. Now, I did have shoddy work from oral hygienists in the Army, civilian and military, and that's why it wasn't until my 30s that I learned how to brush or to floss my teeth properly. Well, not 30s, I was 28, so almost 30. Every time in the previous years, the previous decade I'd been in the Army that I'd gone to the dental clinic, they would clean my teeth, and it was like a rush job. They get in there, they jam some floss in, a few minutes, pop out. Then they go in there, run some of this stuff over your teeth and to polish it, and they dig at the plaque for a couple minutes, and you're done. And that was it. It never explained anything to me. But then when I was deploying to Israel in the summer of 1992 for an operation where I spent several months living in Israel, I went to the dental clinic on Fliegerhorst Kaserne in Hanau, which is where I was stationed, for a routine checkup. And while I was there, I got a cleaning. And the dental hygienist was married to one of the pilots who was also going on the mission. So she talked to me about it. She spent well over an hour cleaning my teeth and explaining to me how to do proper oral hygiene. And that's when, in the summer of 1992, I was introduced to Glide. And here we are 32 years later, and I still swear by it. It is the best thing ever. You know, people like get their Oral-B and their picks and their water picks and all that stuff. Those are all fine and dandy. But I can tell you that I can't carry around a water pick and water and electricity to make it shoot water into my mouth and clean it like a dental instrument. And I can't carry a dental pick because it's like a weapon. You can't go on planes. But I can carry Glide everywhere I go in all weather conditions and clean my teeth. It's fantastic. And again, as I said, if there isn't a chance to brush, this always works. I can't just sit on a plane and start brushing my teeth because, you know, you've got toothpaste and you got to spit it out and that sort of thing. Now, it may be a little rude, but if you're sitting by yourself in a row, you can, you know, clean your teeth very quickly, especially when people are resting. So, yep. How is the U.S. military healthcare system? I have heard mixed stories about U.S. Army doctors. What else? They say it moves more when you've had braces. I never had braces, so my teeth are kind of not moving around. The dentist told you that. So, yeah, I don't know, Chris Marie. I don't know that story. That may be true. Brett, U.S. military health care is hit and miss. I've had fantastic health care in the U.S. military. I had a cyst removed from my back at the 92nd General Hospital in Frankfurt in 1992. I think it was, or 93, before the hospital closed. Outpatient surgery, fantastic. I have also had horrendous health care in the U.S. military. I twisted and snapped my ankle playing basketball while I was at the basic course in 1990. And I was in agony and drove into the hospital after midnight. And I sat there for 3 hours till they woke up the on-call resident doctor. And all he did was wrap it and give me ibuprofen. I can barely walk. And as a consequence, to this day, I still have a huge knot of scar tissue over my ankle because I didn't get proper treatment there and physical therapy. So, yeah, it's hit and miss. I'm not thrilled with U.S. military health care. For a long time, the answer to everything in the U.S. military when I would see them, and I didn't go in often, was ibuprofen. Yeah, there's more to it than that. But I still get health care from U.S. military, but not from military doctors. Although I recently saw a doctor there, and that doctor was just retired from the U.S. Army. She was a female, or just left the U.S. Army, I should say. Yep, and she was lovely, and had great information, and took care of my issue. So, yeah. Yeah, so U.S. military health care is hit or miss. So it does its job, but, you know, it's like anything else. But the dental care, I can say with full confidence and faith, no matter where I got dental care, whether it was in Arizona or it was at Fort Meade or it was at Carlisle Barracks or in Germany, in Bad Kreuznach, in Stuttgart, in Hanau, everywhere I got dental care was excellent. It was absolutely excellent, with the exception of the dental hygienist. Somewhere were hit and miss, but the dental care was fantastic. Scott Cummings says, Happy New Year. Keep fighting for truth and righteousness. Well, thank you for that, Scott. I'm trying. It isn't always easy. Wow, what happened here? We dropped to just 13 people. We had peaked at 21. We dropped back to 13 people. Wow. But we have a predominantly South African audience, and I do realize that it is 6:40 in the morning. So there'll be a few people up soon because they'll be up to watch Morning Shot. So, but not everybody's here. So we're 20 minutes away from midnight here on the East Coast. R1 says, I respect men who put aside their own health in the service and other. With that said, making preservation of health should be a priority considering we only get one body. That's true, R1. Absolutely. But, you know, in the Army, you either condition yourself, or many people get conditioned to not seek health care for issues. So, for instance, I had a habit of something happening. I just slough it off because, you know, it's I'm healthy. My body will overcome it. I'll be fine. It's just a flesh wound, that sort of thing. But I learned a very valuable lesson about your health care. In 2011, on May 1st, I flew back to the States for a conference in Virginia. And at that conference, on the way, I flew from Habarone to, did I say 2010, 2010. Habarone to Joburg, and I ate at News Cafe at the OR Tambo Airport. Got on my flight and flew back to the States. A few hours after I got on the flight, I was in severe abdominal distress. And I actually had a seat where I was sitting right in the middle row, in the middle of the plane, right in front of the bulkhead where I had the cameras up on the wall. So there was nobody sitting in front of me, and it was actually not a bad seat. But I was in a lot of pain, and I wanted to vomit, but I couldn't. And I would go to the bathroom, and only bile would come up. It's when I had the gallstone. I didn't know what it was. The pilots offered to divert to Côte d'Ivoire. And I said, or Senegal, I think it was. And I said, no, thank you. Yeah, Senegal. I said, no, thank you. Let's continue on to Atlanta. There are 400 people on this plane. I don't want people to miss births of loved ones, critical appointments, job interviews, and things like that because I, have food poisoning. It wasn't food poisoning. Anyway, long story short, after I'd had emergency surgery, after I got into the States and my gallbladders removed through a laparoscopic procedure, the next morning the flight surgeon, former Navy flight surgeon, came in and saw me and said, "Colonel, you're very lucky." I said, "Why is that, Doc?" He said, "You see that?" And he's pointing to the IV that I was getting. He says, "That's vancomycin." Now, I know what vancomycin is. Vancomycin is the last line of defense against superbugs. It is one of the most powerful antibiotics that's in the arsenal, and a lot of things are becoming resistant to it. So if you have vancomycin, that means something bad has happened. Well, I had sepsis, blood poisoning, because my gallbladder had died and turned necrotic in the 24 hours that I was in distress and was poisoning me. He said, "You had about 24 hours and you would have been dead." 18 to 24 hours. So the point of that story was that was the last time I played Ranger Rick for the most part. Since then, I pay much closer attention to when something is not right. But unfortunately, getting health care now is such a pain in the rectum because at Carlisle Barracks, where I get my care, there are not enough physicians, and there are far too many active duty and retirees who get care there. So when I went in November for something that I was concerned about, this pain I'd had my head in for 4 years since before I retired, and I'd asked for appointments, couldn't get them. I called. They promised me an appointment. They never got to me, so I went in physically, and I nailed it down, got an appointment. But when I talked to them, they said that the first appointment, this is the first week in November, the first appointment for my primary care physician, the one assigned to me as my doctor, was February. November, December, January, 3 months. I could have been dead. I could have had a stroke. Could have stroked out. That's not healthcare. That's ludicrous. Now, I need another appointment, a follow-up. I've got one, I think, on the 6th of January, if I'm not mistaken. What is the 6th? Is that even a weekday? The date's just sticking in my head. No, it's not the 6th. Maybe it's the 4th. I have to look and see then. I think I have an appointment this week. And I'm going to go in with a whole list of complaints because I told them, they said I wrote it down for multiple reasons. So I'm going to go in with all my complaints, and I'm just going to say, boom, 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 let's go run through all these and try to get some of these addressed. Almost none of those will be treated at that clinic because they have limited resources. So they'll refer me to a civilian clinic or facility nearby. I'll have to pay for that with a copay, but at least I'll get care. So, yep. Well, Val, if you fall asleep while you're tuned in, your video will still be viewing my content, and I'll still get minutes and hours of viewed content. So I'm okay. If I put you to sleep, my apologies. Probably wake you up when I blow my horn at midnight, though, so that'll be 7 o'clock for you in 15 minutes. Scott Cummings says white South African farmers are being persecuted. No, they're being exterminated, Scott. There's a difference. They're being exterminated, and it is an orchestrated campaign by criminal syndicates and crimes of opportunity, but mostly organized criminal syndicates that are responsible for it, while the government looks the other way. I've been reporting on the murder of South African farmers for 3 decades now in the intelligence community, which is not something you would have seen, but since I started broadcasting in my retirement from the Army, it's been something I've focused on quite frequently. Yeah, it's a topic I talk about, and it's something that requires a very fine line. I don't want to report on it from a sensationalist standpoint and upset families who are grieving or survivors. But at the same time, you can't ignore it and must report on it. And it's not just white farmers. It's also black and colored farmers and Indian farmers. In the summer of 2020, our summer, your winter, I reported on a string of farm murders were taking place during lockdown. The Indian woman who was 26 years old, had 2 small children, and was 4 months pregnant, dragged into the bathroom and slit from ear to ear across her note, bleeding out, murdered for no reason whatsoever on the Eave farm in KZN. And that was around the same time that a black cattle farmer, a very successful cattle operation in the northeastern Free State, his meat shop, his butchery, they came by, armed robbery, shot him in the head. He was left for dead. He spent months in a coma in the hospital and then magically came out of the coma, went home, and a month later died from complications from the shooting. That's a black farmer. Those are Indian farmers. Colored farmers suffer the same fate, farm workers, particularly in the Western Cape. But white farmers are targeted because of the presumption that they have money. And white elderly commercial farmers are targeted because they're isolated, they lack the physical ability to resist, and they're easy targets. Sadly, I've gotten to know many of the victims of these horrific crimes. I've reported, for instance, on the Braun family in the Northern Cape province a couple of years ago. I covered that story extensively, the horrific things that were done there. And on my last trip, I actually met the sister of the woman who was murdered and her parents. Truly horrific story. It still affects the family to this day. I've met other folks, and I cover these stories certainly not for the attention. It doesn't get me attention. It's certainly not for the fame. It's not for fame. It's certainly not for the super chats because they don't come in on that. I never monetize any of the videos that talk about farm murders or ghoul and misfortune. I do it because someone must keep a record and report this outside South Africa because the media doesn't care. The mainstream media simply does not care. They believe the racist, false narrative of leftists about South Africa. Let me just put something in context here. I just did a short video, 2 minutes, about comparing what has happened in the Ladysmith floods that have taken place in KZN this past week. On Christmas Day, massive flooding in Ladysmith, and at least 21 people have now died. To my knowledge, all of those people were black and a couple were colored. No white folks that I'm aware of died in that flood that took place in Ladysmith. The outpouring of empathy, the sympathy for the victims of that came from all corners of South African society and from this channel. And I report on accurately the suffering of those people and how horrific it has been. But white South Africans also expressed their empathy and their sadness at the loss of people. Meanwhile, the Orange River's overflowed its banks, and at Orania, a private corporation in the Northern Cape that is almost exclusively occupied by white Afrikaans-speaking South Africans, there are a few colored South Africans who pass through there from time to time, is detested by uninformed racists and bigots, white, black, all over South Africa. And they rejoiced. They said the gods have answered when they saw video of the flooding taking place at Orania. Now, how sick and twisted is that? White South Africans showing their empathy and their concern and reaching out to help flood victims in Ladysmith, while white South Africans are affected by floods and whites and black racists are reveling in the misfortune of them. That's sick and twisted. That is beyond comprehension. Scott says there's something similar to Second Amendment South Africa, or is it some super state of leftist ideology? There is no Second Amendment in South Africa. South Africans traditionally had firearms. There was no law against it. And then the ANC implemented a law forcing firearm registration, but then intentionally not providing police stations with the forms so that people could register existing firearms, thereby turning hundreds of thousands of law-abiding South Africans into criminals. This was intentional so they could disarm South Africans. Now, they never went forward with this because of the outcry, but eventually they forced people to register weapons. It's very difficult to get permits to get a gun in South Africa. It takes a long time. It's very time-consuming. It's quite a mess. It is definitely a super state when it comes to leftist ideology. Courtney says, just stopping by, say hello. Hey, Courtney, you were here early. Thanks. You gave a couple super chats. Appreciate that. have a deep appreciation for the Africana people. They are people who stand up for Western civilization and the values that make the world great. No, I don't disagree with that at all. That's a well-stated point there, Courtney. But they're not alone. Lots of really good South Africans. I mean, some great people from all ethnic groups. Truly, truly is. So we're down to 9 minutes before midnight here, folks. And the ibuprofen is kicked in. The pain that I was in at the beginning of the program is diminishing. And I should be able to sleep now tonight. But without the ibuprofen, I probably wouldn't be able to. There was a flood in Orania. I've not been following the news. Yeah, there was a flood. Yeah, there is a flood. It's not in the news though, Courtney. That's why the media didn't cover it. It was in social media. So you would find people who live in Orania posted videos saying that it rained out there, and then bigots and racists posted comments, happy that this was happening. Really sad. No, I'm sure they'll do fine. The thing about Orania is that whatever damage is done, that town will work together and repair the damage very quickly. Whereas what we're seeing in KwaZulu-Natal, people sit around and wait for the state to fix things, which will never happen. Never happen. And the difference is in Orania, people aren't living in a floodplain. It's just that the river has reached very high. I don't know if it's historic highs, but very high levels. Whereas in KwaZulu-Natal, people live illegally and squat in riverbeds and riverbanks, putting themselves at risk. Foolishly, and the government does nothing to evict them for their own safety. Where were you? What's this? Where were you in Pennsylvania? Are most of the hotels and motels owned by people from India? No, they're not at all. Not at all. No, well, Mississippi has a long record of Indians in Mississippi, which many of us don't know about. Mississippi Masala, remember the movie? Not at all. There are a lot of Indians here, but most of the Indians that are here that I've seen tend to be in the pharmaceutical and the IT fields. Yep. Did whites kill Africans in order to occupy land? So already just the vacant land. Well, it's okay. That's a very loaded sentence there, R1. Did whites kill Africans in order to occupy land in South Africa? I don't think that there are any orchestrated campaigns. There have been a few times that that's happened in history, but basically what it is a clash of civilizations. So, for instance, when the Portuguese landed in Table Bay, they came ashore and the strandlopers murdered the Portuguese. And the Portuguese like, screw this. And they went back on their boats and sailed away. And that's why there was never a Portuguese colony in Cape Town. They knew better. But the Dutch came. They settled in Table Bay in Cape Town, and they would go out and they would barter and trade with the locals. But the local Khoi San peoples didn't have the same sort of value or property system that Europeans had. And when they saw cattle, they went for them. They took them. It wasn't like it belonged to someone else in their view. And this created friction. And it led to those occupying the Western Cape to start hunting down the San peoples. Very bad stuff. Also, there was a dearth of women in the Western Cape, and men like to knock boots with women. Most men. Some dudes like other dudes, but back then, not too many dudes were liking other dudes, at least openly. So most dudes were looking for the ladies. Well, there weren't many ladies there, so the ladies around were koi, and there were lots of liaisons. Probably most of them were voluntary, and that led to the development of offspring, which resulted in what is today known as the coloreds in South Africa. And that's a combination of the slaves imported from Malaysia and also koi, as well as Europeans who mixed with them. And so what you had is disease that also came, and especially things like smallpox, and it had a devastating impact on populations that weren't experienced and exposed to it previously. And all of that played a role. But yes, there were conflicts and wars. The Khoi fought wars against the Burghers, the citizens of that area. And then as as they call them Dutch, but they weren't really Dutch. They were Dutch and French, Huguenot and German mixing together, forming a new identity. But as the Dutch began to move east into lands that were largely vacant, but not entirely vacant. The Khoi were there. As they moved further east towards the Great Fish River, they became in contact with a very large group of people, collectively known as the Xhosa. And the Xhosa were a relatively powerful group of people. And by the end of the 18th century, around 1795, this began to erupt into open conflict in a series of 6 major wars between the Khoi. And there's a super chat from Courtney. Thank you for that, Courtney. $1.99. Courtney's ringing in the new year with probably like the last super chat of the year. Wow, it's just 5 minutes ago. That may be the last super chat. I think you've pipped Brett at the post 5 minutes to go. So yeah, so they wound up in a series of wars, and sometimes the Kosa won, sometimes what then became the Boer, or later the Tuk Boer, they won. So far as steel now. In the 20th century, there were times when the government stole land and removed people from it, claiming the land didn't belong to those groups of people. And we have very famous instances of, like in the urban setting of District 6 in Cape Town, a very cosmopolitan kaleidoscope of races, including white folks living in District 6, but there were a minority there, and mostly colors there, but not exclusively. And all these people living there and evicted from there to turn it into a residential area for whites only. So yes, but that's not a war. That was government illicitly taking people's property. In the 1980s, 2.5 million black South Africans were relocated off of land they lived on and moved elsewhere. Yeah, so the people who live in Oranje can build dikes like their Dutch ancestors. Was a rape or consensual between Khoi and Dutch Boer? It's mostly consensual, but I'm sure there were cases of rape. That's just the nature of human beings. Call says Khoisan word means angry person. District 9. Paul, no, not District 9, District 6. District 9 is a movie. Nice try, Paul. District 9 is a movie. District 6 in Cape Town. That's why they went with 9. They're trying to be clever. Courtney says, body so sore. Yeah, delivering mail, I'm sure that kind of sucks. But how is that job, Courtney? Are you? It sounds like you're enjoying it. Hopefully the pay is good. I know that my postage stamps cost a fortune now, so hopefully your pay is good. Yep. Yeah, so what else? Many Afrikaners, so did Nelson Mandela. Okay. Paul's trying to be funny. All right, we have just 3 minutes before midnight, folks, and we will reach midnight here on the East Coast. Let me look at the National Institute of Standards. 11:57, 58, 59, 11:58, 2 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be at midnight. By the way, the music at the beginning of this, oops, someone's already prematurely set off a firework. I just heard it. The music being this was Giselle with Sight Vest, which is a song about Southwest Africa, or Namibia, which is where she's from. She's a Burmaisi, a farm girl from Southwest Africa. So here we go. 11:58:25, and people are prematurely setting them off now. I can hear them outside. There you see a map from the official U.S. time, and that includes the 4 time zones in the contiguous 48 states, the lower 48. And on the left-hand side, you see Alaska, which is further behind, and Hawaii. Yep. So we are down to 1 minute and 15 seconds before midnight. And at Greenwich Mean Time, it's nearly 5 a.m. right now. And I will count this down as we close to midnight. It says my clock is off by 1.7 seconds. That's talking about my computer clock. That is not the time. So we are in the final minute of 2023. We'll be able to kiss this year goodbye shortly, folks. 2023 is nearly gone. Oh, that thing fell apart. Huh. What happened there? So my gold one is useless. I lost a little tip on it. Oh, it's stuck in there. That's why. Let me stick that back on there. There we go. There we go. Now it works again. Cool beans. Got a gold and silver one here for midnight hour. All right, 30 seconds to the end of 2023. Another year come and gone. Let's hope and pray that 2024 is a much safer, productive, wealthier year for everybody, although I have my concerns about it. 21 seconds, 18 seconds remaining. And here we go, folks. 11:59, and I'll count down from midnight, and then I'll probably hear a lot of fireworks go off here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and January 1st, 2024. Happy New Year, folks. Happy New Year. Wow. It's New Year's 2024, and the fireworks are going off outside now. Wow. Wow. That's not, I don't want to get copyright on that. I'm looking for, I don't want Rod Stewart. Why am I getting Rod Stewart? I was looking for Old Lang Syne. I don't want Rod Stewart. Doug McLean, okay. Huh, I'm looking for the song. My goodness. Guess we got Rod Stewart, but that'll give me a copyright claim. I don't want Rod. Rod Stewart is not the first one to sing the darn thing. Oh, I don't want this ad. This is crazy. It's stupid how hard it is to find a song.
Should old
Acquaintance be forgot.
and ever brought to mind?
Auld Lang Syne, folks. And there's a super chat that definitely is the first one for the new year here on the East Coast from Courtney. Ronell got the first one there. Ronell, 140. Courtney's just came up now. First super chat 2024. You got it. And there's Ronell with 140. 140 Rand super chat. Thank you both for that. It's very kind. It's been nice communication from 2024. See you soon. R1, okay. Thank you very much. Pay is really good. I worked 114 hours last pay period. Wow. I assume that's 2 weeks. 80 hours turned into 114. Little Miss Know-It-All says, happy 2024. Happy 2024 to you as well. Brett says, happy New Year, Pennsylvania, and all my American brothers and sisters in the East Coast and Eastern Time Zone. Brett is not at midnight yet. He's still got an hour to go. Ronell says, happy New Year, and also threw that super chat our way. Thank you for hoying that money our direction. Really appreciate that. Have I read John LeBan's new book? No, I haven't read. I didn't know he had a new book. What's his new book about, Brett? I see you're following John LeBan. He was a fascinating guest. He's got a new book out. Jonathan C says, happy New Year, Colonel. It's going to be better than you expect. Jonathan, I hope you're right. I would like to see a year go better than I expect. I haven't had a year go better than I expect since 2019. 2019 was pretty incredible. I must say that this year was actually this past year had its moments that were fantastic. My trip to South Africa in January and February was unbelievable. It was incredible, being recognized 27 times, getting to the West Coast for the first time, up to Eiserfontein, Velledrift, Citrusdal, and then back down to Ceres. I'd never been in any of those places. That was incredible, plus all the people I met. The other trip is the trip for the sevens, the last sevens in London was fantastic. And then the trip back to South Africa in July and August was absolutely brilliant. And then the World Cup was incredibly expensive, but quite an experience. Unfortunately, it was soured by a leftist hate wanker and serial slanderer supposedly from Amsterdam, who ruined a rather good experience by forcing us to stop having conversations with Nas Botha, which were really fun during the World Cup. Yeah, but it had its high moments, but it's also had its low moments. That root canal I had earlier this year. Paying my bills has been a challenge. My bank selling my promissory note to another bank and then me panicking as if that wasn't going to be able to pay my loan. Other highlights, 20 solar panels installed on my roof, generating electricity. That's kind of cool. It's been an up and down year. And then my health issues, nothing hopefully serious, but lots of little niggles that I've had not able to get medical appointments for. So hopefully January we'll start getting that sorted out. Also, I talked to a few service members. One tonight, a disabled veteran who's 100% disabled, and he's like, Colonel, you need to go back and have them reevaluate you. There's no way that you are just at the level you are. You should be fully disabled. Well, I'm like, thanks for that. But his advice was good. I wish I could chat more often, but being new at post office means I have to work a lot. Once I get a regular route, things will stabilize. Well, that's cool. Linda's here. Hey, Linda, Happy New Year to you. Matt Canali says, new to the Super Brew Table Topper. Matt, thank you so much. Very kind of you. Matt, you are a worthy opponent, as is the scientist. Do you realize we have one of the most competitive Super Brew pools out there? I mean, the three of us have only been separate. Now, I had a big lead for like 4 or 5 weeks, but you guys ate away at that lead. And for the last few weeks, there's a couple Challenge Cup and Champions Cups weeks in there, but I mean, the last like 3 weeks of games being played in URC have been very competitive. And we've never been separated by more than like a point. And most of the time we're all separated by a half a point or a quarter point. It's amazing. Now, my lead may be short-lived because we've got tomorrow. We've got rugby. And I've got to actually take a look at when this game starts tomorrow. My big focus has been on the Outdoor Classic tomorrow. The Vegas Golden Knights are traveling to Seattle at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be watching that game, an outdoor game. It's a tradition they started about 20 years ago where they play in outdoor stadiums. And they played Michigan. They actually had 104,000 people show up for a hockey game. Vegas played a couple years ago in a replacement for that during the lockdown when nobody could go to games at Lake Tahoe in California on the Nevada border. And that was the outdoor game when they played the Colorado Avalanche. Unfortunately, the Avalanche won that game 3-2, but what a great game that was. Really cool jerseys that Vegas came up with, these red jerseys. So this will be Vegas' second outdoor game, and this one is part of the Outdoor Classic. They're playing the Seattle Kraken. It should be fascinating tomorrow. I'm hoping that Vegas wins. They had a good game the other night. It's shortly after 10 in Salt Lake City, but this 43-year-old mailman needs to get some sleep. All right, Courtney, thank you for the super chats. Get some rest. And Matt, the Super Brew's been incredibly competitive. The scientists. Again, I may slide back down tomorrow, but it was nice to reclaim that top spot. You guys are making it super fun for the Super Brew this year. It's really been a lot of fun. Now, my Challenge Cup performance is not looking so good, and neither is yours, Matt. But that's a little more difficult. We don't see those teams play very often, so we're kind of taking a flyer on some of those. Jonathan says it's going to be a better year in 2024 than I expect, and I hope Jonathan is correct. I really do hope Jonathan is correct. So, anyway, wow, we jumped up to 22 people here at this late hour. It is 2024, folks, and I'm looking forward to a cool year. What I'm trying to do now is evaluate when I'll be able to come back to South Africa. I'm supposed to go to Rwanda in January. I've got to sort that out. The clock is ticking on that. So, yeah. Scott says you should speak with someone in the DAV. They'll help you in any way get possible rating. Your life service deserves a closer look to ensure retirement's comfortable. Well, what I have to say about that, Scott, is that I'm not sure because they've already evaluated me for things. But I find some of the ratings to be bizarre. So, for instance, I received 10% for this, 10% for that. And then like for one particular ailment, I have 3 different things, each of which were rated 10%. But because it's the same bodily function, respiratory, it was in the aggregate evaluated 10%, even though each one of the afflictions was 10%. But I guess they look at it from a whole system of the body, and that system was degraded, and any one of them would have got me 10%. So the other 2 were just superfluous, which kind of sucks. But all of them affect me differently, so that's kind of weird. But the things that degrade my quality of life, that affect my sleep, that affect my travel, that affect my gait and my movement, the things that harm me the most, the things that are most painful, I have a 0 rating. I have a rating for it, but 0. And those are the things maybe they can take a closer look at again. But I did get good help from the VA and prompt service from them when I retired, but I wound up with just a 50% rating, whereas the gentleman I met, who looks quite healthy, had 100%. So, yeah. Yes, Courtney, Salt Lake City definitely want to do it. Q, Happy New Year. Be safe from South. Well, thank you, Q. Are you new? Are people just changing the usernames? Or are we seeing more people jumping into the chat? Linda, how are you? It's good to see you in here as well. The disabled American veterans, I do need to talk to them because they're very confusing. When I first considered joining the DAV, reading the form, it looked like I wasn't eligible. And then they sent me a thing trying to get me to join a few months back. And so I'm very confused about what's going on with the disabled American veterans. I understand that they're one of the organizations that's really struggling with membership, and a lot of their offices have shut down. In fact, the closest one to me is closed, apparently. It's no longer open. They had to close it. So I do need to look into disabled American veterans and maybe find out some more information. We don't have a service officer at our VFW, which is unfortunate. It would be nice to have someone that's there. We had a guy, but he took a job, and it was a conflict of interest because he works for the veterans in the county, so he can't do the job anymore. So if you find a good sponsor, they'll do you right. Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. 36 and a half years of my life, every affliction I have is presumed from my service because my entire adult life was in the military, and none of those afflictions existed before I came in the military. So if I came in the Army in 1983 and I didn't have any of these problems, and when I got out in 2019 I had these problems, they have to be service-related. The question is if they're in the line of duty, and I never misbehaved or got in any trouble, so everything that I have is in the line of duty, so it should all be compensatable. Yeah, no, the thing is that with the VA, that's the thing. A lot of people think that I didn't really worry too much because the magic number with the Veterans Administration is getting 50% disability. If you get 50% disability, you qualify for free health care for any health issue, whether it's service-related or not, or you develop it later in life. You basically get free medical care the rest of your life, but you have to be 50% disabled. Now, that doesn't mean you're physically 50% disabled. It just means you have a rating of 50%. Now, the thing is that it doesn't give you a lot of money. People think people get massive payments from the VA. They don't. But the difference between 50% and 100% is significant. But the difference between 50, 60, 70, 80% isn't much difference. But the jump to 100% is a huge jump. But we're still not talking about a livable wage. It's tax exempt, but it is not enough to survive on in most places unless you live in a trailer in West Virginia or you hang out with Ted Kaczynski in a wooden shed in eastern Montana. You don't want to do that. Anyway, it's the Unabomber. Yeah, so Johan Nell, says best wishes for 2024. Well, same to you, Johan. Best wishes to you. Yeah, so, the good news is we've got this, folks. We have a Veterans Administration. South African veterans have been screwed over royally. They've been denied their medical care. They've been denied their benefits, their retirement, and cheated out of their lives by a corrupt, racist government, which hands out pensions to people who were terrorists and hands out pensions to people who never served in combat and fraudulently claimed to be veterans. The Mkhonto we Sizwe Military Veterans Association had 100,000 members. Let me tell you something, folks. There weren't 100,000 people in MK. At their peak, they had maybe 2,500 in the bush, and very few of them actually ever saw any combat. Many of them were murdered by the likes of the friends of Jacob Zuma. Yep. In places like Quatro in Angola. So, yep. Anyway, there you have it, folks. That's a little bit about that topic. So tomorrow, let me take a look at the URC games. Go to my URC map here in a second. By the way, Queen Margareta of Denmark has announced that she's abdicating the throne to her son. Her son, of course, is recently accused of an adulterous affair, and so a little dodgy what's going on there. So tomorrow at 10 o'clock my time, it's Connacht versus Munster. That should be a good game. And then it's the Osprey hosting Cardiff, and then Dragons and Scarlets. And I need to go back and check my picks. Leinster and Ulster, that will be the game, but that's in Leinster at RDS Arena. So I wouldn't count on Ulster winning that game. Leinster will probably win again. And then that's it for the URC until the 27th of January. For some reason, I thought the Lions had the Sharks. They must have had this wrong. But the 27th of January, it's the Bulls and Lions. 27 January. That's the next game up. And that's the last game for this round, round 9. Just the way it breaks out because of Champions and the Challenge Cup. So let me take a look at my Super Brew and see where we're at on that. Going to my dashboard. And we've got 4 games tomorrow, as I mentioned. And I got Munster, Osprey, Scarlets, and Leinster. Yeah. They still got January 6th on here. I don't know why it's not showing up on that. I think that it was originally scheduled for that and it got moved to Sharks and Lions, but it's not showing up on the URC. I don't know why. So, unless it's considered the next round, that shouldn't be. Let me see. Let me just check the next round and see if it's there. So this is 9. Let's check 10 and make sure. No, that's February. No. I don't know why it's not on there. That's weird. Anyway, so that is strange. So, Super Brew. I've had a pretty good start to the weekend. I had Benetton by 11. They won by considerably more. I had Edinburgh by 5, and Edinburgh won by 5 points. Yes, thank you, Duhan Vandemeva. And I had the Stormers by 7, and because it didn't go for the 3 points, it cost me a bonus point, but I did have the win, so I picked 3 straight winners. But I could have had a bonus point there. Yeah, and I didn't get it. Thank you for not making the kick. Fireworks all around me. My dogs are asleep. Such good dog sign. That's awesome. I'm surprised to see Jacob Zuma at Earl Stegen's funeral. I'm guessing Champions Cup starts back again in a few weeks. That's correct. No, Matt, it's rough. In fact, let me look at where we sit on that. So, Matt, you and I I'll go to my captaincies. Let's go to the Challenge Cup because that's the one we're hurting the most. Player number 1 is in first place. Mary Poppins got the yellow cap. So, Matt, you are 17th out of 19. Ouch, but that was the same place you were last time. I moved up 5 spaces from the bottom of the log to 14 in 1 week. Yep, I jumped up there in 1 week. I'm a full point ahead of you, Matt, but 1050, 1150 leaves me 11 points behind player number one. I'm not going to win that Challenge Cup. No way. So that's the Challenge Cup. The Champions Cup doing a little bit better. In the Champions Cup, I'm 10th, up from 11th, and you went down 2 spots, so we traded places. 18.83 points, and the top person's at 21.75. That's Hans Bull. So the scientist is having a good pull there, too. He's at 21.25 in second place, who's also in second place or third place in our log. So, yeah, you and I can move up in that pool. There's room for us to grow, but it's not so easy. But anyway, that's what's going on over there. So, Paul worked with 32nd Battalion platoon commander back in the day. Rich Foreigner called us his serfs. That riled him. No support, no respect. Some vets had a raw deal. Well, 32nd was the Buffalo Battalion, wasn't it? Guessing champion. Yeah, it does start up then. So, yeah, it's coming soon. Anyway, not that far down the road. Folks, it is now 15 minutes past midnight here in the East Coast of the United States, and it is 2024. Can you believe that? The time just slides right on by, doesn't it? Scott, where are you at, if you don't mind sharing? Scott Cummings, you don't have to tell us exactly where you're at, but you can tell us where you're at. Yeah, so the chat's died down a little bit there, but 32nd Battalion, I have a book on 32nd Battalion. Which book do I have? 32 Battalion. There it is. 32 Battalion, South Africa. Yeah, the Buffalo Battalion. Yep. Yep. Western North Carolina. Okay, cool beans. Oh, I love Western North Carolina. Man, oh man, oh man. I knew 232 bats. LaRue and Chetnell. All right, Paul, cool. I think I better get involved in this Super Brew. What is that? R1, it's Super Brew is a sports predicting site. It doesn't cost anything, but some people actually play it for money. They do it informally. They put the money into a kitty and stuff like that. Or you can set prizes and stuff, but we just do it for fun. I do it for a lot of the competitions. Matt joined us. Matt and I are here in the U.S., and it's funny because we find ourselves at the top of the pool for South African and European rugby, and we're Americans, so it's pretty good stuff. Hey, Mike, welcome. What was I trying to get to there a moment ago? Shoot, I've forgotten now. Shoot, what was I looking for? Something somebody wrote here. God bless it. No, I've forgotten. Bikes. That's what I want to see. North Carolina. I'm trying to think of somewhere. So, okay, let me get down to North Carolina on my maps here. Zoom out from Pennsylvania. I spent some nice time in Western North Carolina. Yeah, let me get down here. Down near the Indian Reservation there. Cherokee National Forest. I'm trying to think. Okay, so I came up from Atlanta and went into... There's the border. Okay, from Atlanta. This is where I came up. Okay. I went to Pigeon Forge. That's where I passed in the Great Smoky Mountains. So Cherokee, that's where I'm thinking of. Bryson City, Cherokee, came up that way. I think I stayed overnight in Franklin, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, and a Hampton Inn. And then that route on 441, what an incredible drive. That is an incredible drive with switchbacks. Beautiful spot there. Ride bikes out here. Love the up and down the mountains. No doubt that's great for your health. Yeah, but I drove from Cherokee up to Gatlinburg and then Pigeon Forge. Yeah, that's a beautiful spot. Driving through. I actually walked on the Appalachian Trail. Who goes by the name Player One? Because I think you mentioned they're leading. Yeah, no, I don't know who Player One is. I don't know. Yeah, but that's a beautiful spot. Absolutely stunning stuff. Yep, so went up that way and then came back and drove all the way across North Carolina. It was a long drive on 40. Oh, my goodness. What a long drive that was, going 40 all the way across the state to get to 95. Oof, what a long drive. I think I actually went to 85 and came up from Durham. Yeah, and then went to Petersburg. I got on 95. What a long drive that was. North Carolina is a long state from east to west. Long state. Absolutely. 12:20 on the East Coast, 11:20 in the Central. That includes Mississippi. 10:20 out there where Courtney's at in Mountain Standard Time, and 9:20 on the West Coast. Out in Alaska, it's 8:20, and in Hawaii, it is 7:20. In Samoa, it's 6:20. Yep, there you have it. Arctic is here. Happy New Year to you, Arctic. Welcome to the program. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. Doesn't cost anything but a moment of your time. Yep, moment of your time. Boy, we've talked about some odd things tonight. Talked about tooth decay and glide. Talked about rugby. Talking about military experiences now. That's interesting. It is 2024. Can you imagine that, folks? I said that earlier today on my South African New Year's broadcast. I said, you know, when I was a kid, I always thought that in the year 2000 came along, the new millennium, I would be so old. So old. Of course, I wasn't old in 2000, but 2000 now is 2.5 decades in the rearview mirror. Can you believe that? It's shocking. Arctic says, less politics, more family and friend time in 2024. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. That's going to be impossible to achieve here in America or South Africa in 2024. That is going to be very challenging. I need to check when my medical appointment is, man, because I got a medical appointment coming up and I need to get ready for that. Yep, and hopefully the doc can take care of me here and get me to see some referrals for some of these issues I've got going on here. I don't know what this is, if it's RSV or, you know, not RSEPCT. That's what you mean to me, no, but RSV, respiratory. Funny enough, I think the Terminator movie was based around this time and depicted all futuristic. Yeah, it's funny to watch a lot of these movies when they depict time in the future and what it's supposed to be like. Yeah, I noticed that some of the better science fiction programs project things out a few centuries, so it won't be easy. Esotive just tune the crap out, focus on the stuff I can change. Well, yeah, that's true. You may be able to do Arctic, but an awful lot of us aren't going to be able to do it. There's a fight for the fate of the world that's ongoing, and some of us are warriors in that fight. We've got to hang in there. Yeah, 100-day cough going around. You're right about that, Michael. I've had it for nearly a month now. I don't know how to get rid of it. It's really, really annoying. I think it's the longest I've ever had a cough. It's very frustrating. Very frustrating. Can't seem to get rid of it. Can't shake it. So it's a shame we don't have things that just wipe out the RNA. Like if you like stick like a tube down the throat and you like expose it to ultraviolet radiation inside your throat, down in your chest, and kill off all the RNA from the virus. Wouldn't that be cool? Of course, you'd probably kill off part of your body too, but just a thought. So when you see someone come out with a device that sticks a tube down your throat into your chest and lungs and irradiates the RNA and kills the virus, remember, it was my idea. I want my residuals. And 100-day cough 10 years ago. It's horrible. Wow. So did you mention the U.S. will begin testing nuclear bombs again? Where would they do that? They do that subterranean, probably in Nevada. Yes, the Biden regime wants to test nuclear weapons to improve our nuclear weapons arsenal. Brett gives a super chat, says, how can we fix South Africa in 2024? Vote out the ANC. So he answers his own question. That won't fix South Africa, but it will start. And as I've cautioned people in South Africa, it's a long road back, ladies and gentlemen. Simply getting rid of the ANC is not going to deliver you from Hades. There is a bureaucracy in place full of incompetent, unqualified patronage hires who are loyal to the ANC for their position and will resent other people telling them what to do and will probably, in many cases, undermine good governance and service delivery. Today, they're not delivering it because they're just incompetent or they're thieving. But tomorrow, they may not deliver it because they're incompetent, they're thieving, and they are seeking revenge on the people who tossed the ANC out. The fight has been going on since the 40s. Your loved ones are more important. Well, you make a fair point, Arctic, but that's not an excuse for me to remain disengaged from the fight. The sad part for me is that thought we did a lot of good in the world, and I'm confident we did do a lot of good where I was at and what I did serving in uniform. It's just a shame that the crass politicians don't have the same respect for the Constitution that those who have taken oath to defend it are in. No, Arctic, I didn't take it as a personal thing to me. I took note of what you said, and I think it's a fair point. It's just frustrating for me. There's the super chat from Brett just came up. Thank you for that, Brett. Thank you for that. Courtney and Brett are dueling super chats, and I think we had one from Ronell earlier. Yeah, Ronell gave 140 Rand earlier. Thank you for that, Ronell. Been a very productive day. This was the third broadcast I did on New Year's Eve. Silvester Abend, as they say in Germany. The first one was the news broadcast. We did that for a little over an hour. And then I had to run off for the party for our staff at the VFW. And then we had New Year's with South Africans at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 11 o'clock South Africa time. And now we've done New Year's here on the East Coast. And let's hope that 2024 is a productive year, maybe an exciting year. Potentially, I can see trips this year coming up if things went really well. If things go well, I will travel to South Africa early. Well, I'll go to Rwanda, then South Africa, then maybe out to Utah, possibly a trip to the UK, then or Germany and Romania, and then another trip to South Africa for the elections. And that looks to be this year, but going to have to come up with some quan to cover that stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, I never heard of a 100-day cough either, R1, but I can tell you I've been sick for almost a month now. Yep, and it's annoying because it's not a debilitating thing. It just you know, I could sit around and not cough all day and then suddenly start coughing. And, you know, with a cough, you can usually get some nasty looking mucus up, but you can't do it with this. It's hard to get anything up. It's just very frustrating. Yeah, so I don't know. It's got to be some virus that's in there that's not getting defeated. I don't know, you know, of course, the cough is your body fighting the virus, so the virus isn't affected by the cough. You are. Yep. Take a spoonful of honey daily. Okay. I've got honey, which Mike gave to me, so I'll take a spoonful of honey each day and see what comes of that. I love honey. No, whooping cough. This isn't whooping cough. Yeah, okay, yeah, whooping cough I'm familiar with. You know, whooping cough nearly disappeared. And physicians, new generation of physicians didn't even know what it was. They didn't even know what it was. And so I know someone who suffered from whooping cough for over a year because the physicians couldn't identify it. They had not seen it. It had been so many years. It was pretty much wiped out. Get NAC and stop with the refined sugars. What's NAC? Yeah, no, exercise does help. And I started exercising again on Christmas Day. Induces deep breathing. Okay. Well, I already have lung challenges because of a paralyzed diaphragm and adult onset asthma and, you know, whatever damage was done to my lungs by burning oil wells and the carcinogens I breathed in for 7 weeks in Iraq, or in Kuwait, excuse me, at the end of the Gulf War. Does Neti Potty, I have no idea. I've never done that. Travel plans for the year. Arctic, did you go away? I just covered travel plans, didn't I? Didn't I just talk about them? That sounds gross. Acetylcysteine. Okay. Never heard of that before. I'll look it up. Okay. Let me save that, copy that, and I'll look it up after this and see. Window, paste. There's the sharks. Let me get rid of that. I don't need that. Okay, what exercise are you doing? Low intensity cardio, weights, stretching. Oh, I always stretch. No, mostly just cardiovascular, light cardiovascular with walking, but I haven't been doing it because my hip has been acting up. I'm going to see the doctor about that. So I think it will be again Biden versus Trump. Scientists, hey, there he is. There's our number 1, 2, and 3 competitor there in the Super Brew pool. Antioxidant. Well, so are raspberries, aren't they? Aren't raspberries antioxidants? Taking it for years. Oh, Arctic, yeah, I just covered that. I'll cover it again here in a second then. I mean, I literally just covered that like a minute ago. So, but I'll get back to it in a second here. It's so effective that the powers that be were trying to ban it. Oh, really? Okay, then that's worth looking into. Some lung problems might have been from secondhand smoke, being around smoking soldiers. No, the number of people who smoked in the military declined rapidly in my career. When I was in basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, in the wintertime, we went to the live fire range where they fire live ammunition over your head, and you learn to duck. And we moved across that. It was a freezing, well below zero temperature day out at that live fire range. That's the day I discovered what the A-10 was, because they came from Chenot Air Force Base in Illinois. They would fly over Fort Leonard Wood. That was the path they flew. And so they flew over top of our live fire range, which was pretty wild. A-10s, first time I ever saw in basic training. So it must have been like December of 1983 that I saw that. Well, there was a warm-up tent, and there were so many people smoking inside the warm-up tent that I couldn't breathe. I walked outside and stood in the freezing cold, well below zero, and that's where the stoves were. But they were all smoking. They were so very rude and disrespectful. But that's the last time I really dealt with smoking in the military. After basic training, it really wasn't an issue. Open burn pits were sick. Fort Lost in the Woods is where I went to basic. That's where I went, Scott. Yep. November 1983 to January 1984. Then I went off to Fort Gordon for advanced individual training as a multi-channel communications equipment operator. Yep. Yeah, so, okay, let me give Arctic. Arctic, are you listening now? Let me know. Confirm you're listening, Arctic, before I run through this again. Young people who smoke have no excuse. Older generations, my grandparents started primarily for social aspect, but also because it was advertised as healthy. That's true. Okay, Arctic is here. So if things go well this year, January, I've got a consulting trip to Rwanda. I've never been to Rwanda. I was supposed to go 3 times, although I've landed at the airport in Kigali, but it doesn't count. Supposed to have been there 3 times, and each time the trip got scuttled. So I'll go to Rwanda as a consultant in January to teach intelligence to the military. And then after that, a trip to South Africa, maybe February, March, not sure. Then, if things go well, a trip to Germany or Romania or UK, something like that in May, if things go well. And then another trip to South Africa when the elections occur. And that's what I'm planning on for the year. Yep. Did split training going after my junior year in high school in 1990. Oh, Scott, you're a bit younger than me. That I was there years before that. So people in South Africa smoke to deal with stress from the economy, says Arctic. Yeah, but the problem with Europe and South Africa is just like Europe, and Europe is 2 decades behind America. They're not nearly as advanced as Americans. They like to look down their nose at Americans, but culturally they're 2 decades behind us. They still think it's cool to smoke. The number of people smoking in sports venues when I was in France was obnoxiously high. Even though it's prohibited, they still did it, and they didn't give a flip. Occasionally, the ushers would tell them to stop, and they would, but they got away with it, and they smoked so much. It was so rude and disgusting. Try some cortisone. Got not good. Yeah, cortisone, that's a possible thing. So I thought, so just to relate with my hip, I've told this story before. I was going to physical training in the morning in 1985. Early in the morning, it was January, I think, a very cold morning, and I was on my bicycle going back to the caserne, the barracks. Went around a curve at about 5:30 in the morning, and there was black ice, which I couldn't see. The bike came out from under me, and I went forward because of my momentum, landed squarely on the joint of my right hip. It was, the nerves were stunned, and I was paralyzed momentarily. I couldn't even move. Fortunately, there was no traffic on the road. The bike skittered across the street all the way, and I went forward as the bike went this way. Because I was coming around the curve, and the bike kept going with momentum, and then for some reason, because I bent in, I went forward this way. I couldn't move. I dragged myself to the side of the road. It took a couple minutes to get some feeling back in my hip. I was able to get up and limp across the street, pick up my bicycle, and since it was 5:30, PT was at 6. It was only a few hundred meters from the gate. I was able to hobble into the gate, stretch my hip, and the feeling came back in it, and I did physical training and ran that morning with my unit. Never went to the clinic. Over time, that became a habitual pain that was in that joint. It got worse and worse after the age of 50. And I listed it for the things for the VA, but they gave me a 0 rating for it. And it caused me a lot of pain at times, quite painful. Can't sleep. I wake up. I can only sleep on certain angles and such. Sometimes can't walk. When I was in France this time for the World Cup, there were a few days when I walked a lot. I'm talking about 20 or more kilometers on a couple of the days. And on a few of those days, my hip was really hurting at the end. I'm really struggling to make sure that I don't change my gait. Once you start changing your gait, and I notice it like my right foot, instead of walking straight like this, I'm starting to walk like some lazy people where my foot is kind of like that and it places like that instead of straight ahead. So I have to focus to keep it like this because the body is taking the path of least resistance, which is least pain, and the foot splays out like that. That's not good pronation for your foot. It's not good for your joints. It's not good to develop bad habits. So I frequently am looking down to make sure that both my feet are still straight forward like this as I go forward. Hopefully the doctor who is now my primary care provider, whom I'll be seeing in January, when I saw him last year, he became my doctor. He wasn't my doctor then, but he became my doctor. And the reason he became my doctor is when I went in to see him, I was in the triage room because they take you in. The nurse comes in, blood pressure, cough, temperature and all that. You sit there, ask you what your complaints are, and they write it all up. And then the doctor's seeing someone else. Then the doctor comes in and sees you. So the doctor, between the time she left and the doctor came in, I had taken my stupid mask off because the clinic forced you to wear a mask or you couldn't get treatment. So I took the mask off because I have a hard time breathing with that. Plus, it's caused rosacea in my face to break out. So the mask is off. The doctor comes back in. I reach for the mask and I started to put on. He goes, don't put that on. Those things don't work. And I said, are you available to be my GP, my general practitioner? And he goes, sure, tell him to put me on your panel after we talk. That's all I need to know about that guy. So I was happy to know that. But I explained to him, asked if I had any complaints, and I explained before I left. I said, well, my hip has really been bothering me. He said, well, you have to come back in for that. Come back and see me. I explained my symptoms, and I thought it was arthritis. He said, well, it might just be bursitis, and we can do something about that. And I think that his plan was probably a cortisone injection. Yep. Will you be bringing your camera and documenting your trips? Of course, I document all my trips. In fact, let me pull up some videos from my recent trips. I'm sure I've got some videos I haven't shown people. So let me go to this drive and go to that camera folder. Let's go with August and see. I've got some videos in here, I'm sure. I'll pull them up. Oh, here you go. What's this one? That's too short. 29, 33, that's 30. Those are short ones. So hang on a second. So these are cranes in Velledrift in South Africa, so on the west coast. They're very far away. I had to zoom in. That's why it's moving up and down. A lot of cranes. So that was in the West Coast. Let me bring up another one here. This is footage you guys just haven't seen. This one you've probably seen.
Hello, folks, and welcome back once again. This is Chris reporting from Citrusdal at the base of the Cedarburg Mountains here in the Western Cape in South Africa, where just over a month ago, massive floods wiped out the access to the main highway here, and the town itself, about 7,000 people, was cut off completely from the outside world for a bit. Difficulty getting folks, get this causeway built back here, but as you can see behind me here, reconstruction of this effort's well underway.
By the way, it was warm. I was melting wearing that hoodie. There's snow in the mountains, but there wasn't snow down there in Citrusdal, so I was really cooking that day. Let me see if I can find some more here. So a lot of these are short clips I use to put together to make documentaries and such, but this is the river in Citrusdal on the left-hand side of the mountains. Now it's weird because the water is going from south to north, which is unusual. So that's, you can hear a truck idling in the background near me. So this is actually the traffic lining up from Citrusdal. You can see the snow on the mountain in the background there. This is in February. So there's that. Let's see what else we got here I can show you. Oh, I know I've got some coming up here shortly. Where are we at? Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is So this is near Ceres. And Ceres is down there in that open light space behind it there. So this is in the pass. This is beautiful. Well, 3 skews in your hip. Well, that's a shame, Scott. 3 screws. Look at that waterfall down there. It's pretty cool. That's some rough terrain there. That's for mountain goats only. Pretty cool, huh? Beautiful scenery. Let me see what I got next here. Oh, this is the one I did in Citrus Style to report the news. Or in Sarah.
Hello, folks. This is Chris with an update once again on that situation in Citrusdal, where I reported previously that the causeway was being worked on. I got a chance to...
So that was... I spoke to a gentleman who was responsible for that work after that. Okay, now this is pretty cool. This is what I woke up to, frost in the morning in Ceres. Just look at the grass, it's got frost on it.
Well, it definitely got below freezing last night, below 0. When I checked, it was 7 degrees Celsius, but obviously we hit frost, which means we hit at least 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit last night here in Ceres. I guess it was a little chilly last night.
I was very chilly. I was outside trying to record videos.
Well, it definitely got below.
And I was very chilly that night. Okay. Let me see. Some of these have got to be videos. Why are they not showing up as videos? Okay, here we go. I guess he only made 1 video. I thought he did more than 1 video. That sucks. Huh. Here we go. This is in Sarah's at the zip line. Yeah, not the best camera angle there, but hey. You get what you pay for. He did that at no charge. So I'm trying to find... Okay, here's a couple more. Here we go. All right, this one's pretty good. It's kind of cool, huh? This is exclusive footage. I haven't shown this to people before. Some of this. That's actually me coming down.
Nice one.
There we go. Cool, huh? I think that's the only one he got of me. Let's see. He did take more videos as we went along here, but... Okay.
Was it fast enough for you?
That's all right. She asked if it was fast enough for me. I was the only one there. That was pretty cool. Anyway, so I've done zip lining now in the Mahalicesburg and in Citrusdal. Trying to find another video here. And here I am with my guides. They're pretty cool. Nice, folks. Let's see what else. Here's another. This is, what's the pass? I can't think of the pass there. Shoot, this is the pass where I took this Is it Van Rieden's Pass? I think this is, no, not Van Rieden. Van Rieden is in KZN. Sorry, whatever one this is. This is in the Western Cape. Chadwick Alexander's here. Hello to you. Kurtz Verhoeven has shown up too. He says the roads are useless like the government. Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. What is that pass? I'm drawing a blank now. Hang on a second. I'm going to go over there now. Western Cape. Okay. That pass is... Where the heck am I at now? Coming from Saris. Okay. There's Parle. Okay. Saris, please. Where's Saris? There we go. Saris. What is that pass? Come on. What is the name of that pass? Baines Kloof. That's what it is. Baines Kloof Pass. That's the one. That's Baines Kloof Pass. Thank you. I got it finally. Yeah, Baines Kloof Pass. That's what that image was you saw there. Pretty wild pass. And here's this is on the other side of Baines Kloof Pass as you come over approaching Wellington. Just unbelievable scenery in the Western Cape. Incredible Bosveld vegetation. Just stunning stuff. Wasted on the ANC. Absolutely wasted on the ANC. Incredible country. There's my rental car. Wellington is to the right, down below. Pretty good job holding the camera steady, huh? I'm just holding it in my hand there in a headwind. Old rock there. Quite windy, is it not? Yep, that was quite windy. Looking for another one here. A lot of great pictures coming down from there too. Baines Kloof Pass. See where my next one is. So this is a gentleman that that was outside the Rockomamas who he and his daughter, he recognized me from Rugby Ascendant and said, "Hey," and interrupted my morning there. It was pretty cool. Nice gentleman. Met him and his daughter outside Rockomamas in Parle. I wasn't intending to go to Rockomamas, but the place I wanted to eat at was shut down. They had a cable theft, and so they weren't open. Yeah, so I went down the street to Rockomamas, where I'd been at before, in Parle. So I'm looking for another one here, zipping ahead. Yep. I hope I'm not boring people with these videos. Let me know if you're bored. Right now, what I'm looking at is the Huguenot Museum in Franschhoek. Okay, come on. Oh, this was my Frappuccino that I got in Franschhoek. So they asked for your name, so that's the name I gave him. Chepo. Chepo in Franschhoek. Black ice on the backside of a mountain. Yeah, you have to be constantly vigilant when you're on a bicycle, but on a road too. On a bicycle, it's rough. So I'm looking for more video here. Lots of photographs. Here we go. Here's video. This is at... this is at Zorgfleet. This is my wine tasting at Zorgfleet when I stayed overnight there. 3 different wines they brought out for me. Absolutely beautiful. Zorgfleet. A stunning place. So I take videos like this just for, interjection in my documentaries and such. short ones, little can splice here or there, put them in the video. So pretty cool. Sword Fleet. What else? Okay, here we go. Which one? This 47.
Folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa in the Western Cape, where a recent event has led to somewhat of an international controversy. I'm speaking, of course, of the 10th anniversary celebration of a minor opposition party known as the Economic Freedom Fighters, led by a malcontent former African National Congress Youth League leader, Julius Malema. At his recent 10th anniversary gala, he sang a song, a hateful song, which translates to "Kill the Boer." Boer, of course, being Afrikaans word of Dutch origin meaning farmer. It's a song used during the liberation struggle to exhort folks to commit violence against minority white South Africans. It's a song that most people's estimation is a very dangerous way to engage with others, yet the South African Equality Court claimed that he was not using so-called hate speech. However, this is a country in which using a mere word can get you in prison as a convicted felon. For instance, the Arabic origin word, which means non-believer, begins with a K, can't say it here in South Africa, will get you incarcerated as a felon and thrown into prison. But you can sing and exhort people to commit violence and murder others based on their ethnicity and get away with it. This controversy has been around for a long time. There have been a killing.
Anyway, so that was at Sword Fleet as well. Okay, now from there, I'm down in Simonstown. Okay, this is in Simonstown from my hotel, looking down on the naval base. This is where, of course, the fires were located just recently. There's one of the German-built frigates. There's another one. The other is in Durban. Two here in Simonstown, one in Durban. The mighty South Africa has 2 ships at its main naval base. There they are. 2 ships. So impressive. A lot more pleasure boats than naval vessels there. And that is in Simonstown. Oh, you guys didn't see it. My bad. I didn't turn it on. My bad. Let's come back. So I just realized I didn't turn it on. Okay. Can you be arrested for just saying it? Yeah, no, you can be arrested for saying it, yeah. Because someone will claim that you said it about somebody. There you go. There's the naval vessels. 2 of them, of the 3 they bought from the Germans for millions and millions and millions of dollars. They rarely go to sea. More pleasure boats than actual naval vessels. Of course, this is where the Russian cargo ship, the Lady R, docked in the dead of night and unloaded crates and loaded additional crates on. But as the South African minister said, there was fuck all on the Lady R. Sure. Thank you for your contribution to the history of lies. All right. What else have I got here? I thought I took a video down there. I guess not. Huh. Looking for more video here. Oh, here we go. This is Simonstown at night. This is pretty cool. So this was me at night. You can see the road down there along the water. Some cars down there. You can see their headlights moving in the distance. And then off to the right-hand side in the distance, that's the Cape Flats over there. A little further along and going in, you'll find Mitchell's Plains. Now, that area was completely dark 40 years ago. Virtually nobody lived out there. And you can see the Navy ships with their lights on at nighttime. I had a lovely spot. It was a nice place I stayed at. I really enjoyed it. So that's Simonstown at night. And here comes the moon. It's pretty cool. I don't know if I get it in this shot. There we go. There's the moon. Yeah. That was kind of cool. So that's footage never seen before that I recorded in South Africa on my last trip. This is with the penguins. Here we go. This is at...
Hello, folks. Welcome once again. This is Chris Wyatt in Simonstown, South Africa, home of South Africa's Navy, just behind me in another cove there. Events in Cape Town yesterday and over the next week are quite dicey as the taxi industry is taken to the streets, blockading traffic, causing total chaos throughout the central business district of Cape Town and beyond that, all the way out into the Cape Flats as well. Yesterday had people throwing rocks at Coca-Cola trucks, trying to stop them, to rob them. 2 Golden Arrow buses set alight, and just total chaos. Domestic workers, retailers, petrol station attendants, gas station attendants, as well as anybody working and earning a living, doing their best to support their family and get by in these difficult times, found themselves stranded last night as the taxi industry went on strike and refused to move anyone. Most people in that strata of the economic environment here in South Africa rely on so-called combis, little minibuses. They get them from...
Oh, I did that one down there. That wasn't the Penguins, but that's near the Penguins. At Boulders. I'll get to the Boulders video in a second. Let me see, what's this? Oh, here's the Dassies running around. Dassies and Penguins. Check it out. See the Dassie? On the left-hand side. And there's Penguins on the right. The Dassie is a Rox Hyrax, for those who don't know. There's another Dassie. Look like little rabbits, don't they? And there's another Penguin. This is all very close to where people live. Yeah, it is a great camera. It's my Samsung S21 Ultra. Served me very well. And here we go. Here's the Penguins at Boulders. Formerly known as jackass penguins because of their braying sound, now known as African penguins. Typical. Oh, look at the dude trying to get out to the party there. Waddling his way out there. They're amazing under the water, but they're awkward on land.
Hey folks, this is Chris in Simonstown at Boulders, a site where you can come down and see the penguins. Of course, these penguins, once known as the jackass penguins for their loud, annoying braying sound, now been renamed African penguins. Kind of handy. I suppose that's a much better selling point, African penguins, than jackass penguins. But when you hear them bray, if they make a little noise behind me, you'll pick up on that. Of course, many people have now become very well familiar with this colony of penguins that are here in Simonstown, home of the South African Naval Base, as a consequence of the Netflix special, which is a pretty good special, actually, for Netflix. But this colony has been here for a very long time, and people began protecting it about a century ago. But the population of these penguins is greatly reduced from 1.5 million a little over 100 years ago. Well, there you go. You can hear the braying in the background right now. To a colony today that's about 2,200. But that is a colony that was on the brink of extinction just a few years ago and has made a pretty significant recovery here in the Simon-Towns area. Of course, these penguins are nesting at this time of year, and so they're pretty quiet.
Yeah, they're pretty quiet when they're nesting. Yep. So here's some of them trotting down towards the water. It's pretty funny to watch some of them. That one guy's got a broken leg or something. Look at him hopping along there. Poor little guy. The one on the left-hand side. Here he comes. Got a messed up leg. It's a shame. But he's still working his way down there. Look at that. Not giving up. Not giving up. All right, what else we got here? That was Simonstown. And the next time, oh, what's this? This is beautiful. I took this driving to Stellenbosch. This was pretty cool. Look at the cloud there. I took this with my phone, holding it in front of my steering column in the car. In my hand as I drove. Shh, don't tell the police. Look at that cloud. You can see some of the crud on the windscreen there. Now this road goes down, and at the robot you turn right and head towards Stellenbosch. Pretty cool, huh? Not bad filmography. What's the next one here? Yeah, this isn't... Oops, wait, that's not the one I want. Oh, yeah.
Hello, folks. This is Chris Wyatt reporting from Stellenbosch in the Western Cape of South Africa, where many big developments are underway. Recent events include a conference on Friday, the 4th of August, 2023, in the Western Cape about the idea or the concept that small parties who don't achieve a minimum number of votes in the general election would not receive a seat in Parliament. The existing situation is...
Yeah, trying to defraud South Africans out of representation. Yep. And... this was down in Somerset West. I was out with Barry Hilton, his wife, and his son, who plays goalie for his soccer team. So, caught a little bit of footage there. Radine says you're still on. Well, I only started an hour or 2 hours ago, so well, I guess longer than I thought. Okay. So this was with Barry and his wife. Barry Hilton, fantastic, wonderful guy. He and his wife, lovely people. That was in Somerset West. Really great. Of course, I'd interviewed Barry a short time before that, so that was pretty cool. What's the next one I got here to show you real quick? Oh, this was cool. I found this was courtesy of George. Was it George that took me to this? I'm trying to remember. Was it George? Or I'm trying to remember who I went here with. The Kopstadt, or no, it wasn't Garrett, was it? Kopstadt, it was George. Kopstadt Brauhaus. That was pretty awesome. That's in Cape Town there. Beautiful stuff. And then I had an incredible beer, which was a like a raspberry Weizen. Man, this thing was awesome. I got to go back there just for this. Look at that. Look at that beer, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. Enjoyed that beer and that meal. It was fantastic. Fantastic. Well, it wasn't George. Who did I go there with? Gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now. And then I met with, of course, I met with Jeremy Nell. He and I met at the Bootlegger coffee shop. Look how pale I look there, man. Boy, my goodness. That is near Canal Walk in Cape Town. And then right after that, it was with Paratus. I met with Paratus. Gideon Joubert. We met right around the corner, which is pretty cool. So, and then I filmed this at Canal Walk.
This is Chris Wyatt reporting from Cape Town, the mother city in South Africa, where in the last 24 hours, the government of South Africa issued a report which, for the longest time, they said was classified. It's state secrets. What am I talking about? Well, the incident occurred from the 6th to the 8th of December, 2022 at the Simonstown Naval Base located about 40 kilometers south of here, when the Russian-sanctioned freighter, the Lady R, appeared at Simonstown Naval Base after turning off its automated information system, which is the way that ships adapt.
Yeah, so that was at Canal Walk. And let me see what else I got here. We're still in the Western Cape. Oh. This one here, okay. This is in Rondebosch.
Reporting once more from the mother city of Cape Town in South Africa, where the ongoing transit strike, the taxi industry strike, is paralyzing many parts of the city and the suburbs. It's had a very devastating impact on workers who work in retail shops, restaurants, petrol station, gas station attendants, the people who are doing...
That was in Rondebosch. Yep. Now, this was funny. I was sitting in a restaurant. I was watching these freaking pigeons. They were hilarious. This is funny. No, that's not the one. There's a funnier one where they fight. I thought that was it. Must not have it. Yeah. And then This is down in Somerset West along the Strand. This is Strand. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is Woodbridge Island. Woodbridge Island. Hey, who's that sexy young man? You notice I'm walking a kind of bit gingerly there. My hip was bothering me that day. Not walking with a normal gait. Yeah, that's Table Mountain in the background, and I'm walking towards it. The secret is to walk right past the camera. Pay no attention to it. Yeah. Anyway, that was Woodbridge Island. Sorry, I started to misspeak there. And then, I don't know who this guy is. You guys ever seen this person before? Anybody know him? Can anybody recognize that guy? Some guy was just kind of, he was trying to hitch onto my star and ride to fame there. This was in Port Elizabeth. I mean, this guy wouldn't leave me alone. He kept coming up everywhere I went. I'm really not sure who he is, but he just kept coming along like a bad penny. That, of course, is Ronaldo Jos in Port Elizabeth. Yeah, so cool stuff. All right, we'll knock it off there with the videos for now. We can show more on a future date. Did I get a video of that? Hang on. No, I didn't. Okay. Oh, well, let's do this. This is the DA folks dancing at their rally for Women's Day. Then we'll wrap up. Hold on, I just got to interrupt a second real quick here. While the race haters and liars about the Democratic Alliance, a party that I called to task on more than one occasion, lie about this party, calling it a white party, a party run by whites, a party that's only for whites. I'm sorry, are any of these people white? Only about 4 or 5 people that showed up that day were actually white. This is in Uitenhage. Or Cariga, as it's called now. Yeah, the so-called white party of South Africa, the Democratic Alliance. How ridiculous that nonsense is. Yeah. Here they are marching into Uitenhage. R1 says, I wonder if the inflammation is due to overuse. Well, if it is, then I should have inflammation in the other hip. It's an injury, and there's something wrong there, and then the use of it makes it flare up. But also, I don't even walk. Yeah, so this is in Uitenhage, and this is the DA parade on Women's Day. Anybody recognize the dude in the top of that vehicle right there? Just take a look at that fellow up there. You look familiar? Little man bun. Hey, I think I know him. Ronaldo Jos. The white party. Yeah, my ass. Yeah, look at all those evil white people in the DA. All those white people. Yeah, the so-called white party of South Africa. What a bunch of race-hustling liars that lie about the DA. Again, not a person that would typically defend the DA, just stating the facts as they are, folks. Sad, pathetic, to say the least, how they misrepresent things about the Democratic Alliance. It really is. So let me see this one here. He got hit in the back of it with the trombone. They're getting tired at the end of the march there. This is almost over. But yeah, there you go. There's your white party in South Africa. CB does know how to protect herself. You don't mess around with her. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, and let's see. What's this? Pretty cool stuff. Isn't it fun to watch South Africa's white party? Oh, dear God. Oh, unbelievable.
Hey folks, welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports. This is Chris, live in Newton Hague in the Eastern Cape with Andrew Whitfield, Shadow Minister of, now I always get these things wrong, it's Security and Police, or how's that work?
Shadow Minister of Police.
Shadow Minister of Police. So, the guy that's not Beckett Sealing.
The opposite.
There you go. 180 degrees the other direction. So, you're here today to celebrate Women's Day. It was a pretty interesting gathering.
Yeah, we're here to celebrate Women's Day. I mean, every year in South Africa on this date we celebrate Women's Day. We commemorate the struggles of women in South Africa and also recognize the ongoing challenges that women face, in particular from my portfolio in Parliament, which is policing, the deficiencies in the security.
Very articulate gentleman. It was a pleasure to interview him. I hope to do it again sometime. I really did enjoy that. It's pretty cool. And this is all in the Eastern Cape. So, yeah. What's this one here? I'm wearing sunglasses in this one. What's this one? It's a short one.
Hey folks, Chris Wyatt here, commander of VFW Post 6771, the South Mountain Post in Dillsburg.
Yeah, I made a video for, oh, you can't see it. Yeah, so this was me doing a video.
And no, this is not central Pennsylvania. I'm in Port Elizabeth in South Africa on the southern coast, and it's wintertime here. But what a lovely, beautiful day in South Africa. Lots of crazy things happening in this country. People being murdered, driving back to the airport because of a taxi strike. Kids stranded, unable to get to school, over 450,000 of them. Nurses can't get to work. People forced to sleep at their place of business in restaurants and stores around the Cape Town area. Take a moment and be grateful for what we have in central Pennsylvania, peace and relative stability, despite the economic challenges we're all facing, the winds that we're all dealing with.
Yeah, so I did this for the veterans back here when I was in South Africa. So, yeah, which one's this?
Hey folks, this is Chris Wyatt, commander of South Mountain Post 6771 in Dillsburg.
That's another one for the veterans I made. And then it's this one here.
Greetings from Port Elizabeth, folks. This is Chris in the Eastern Cape. This video is in response to the bile that's been spewed about across social media and in the captured media. And I make an appeal to South Africans, black, white, brown, Zulu, Xhosa, Afrikaner, Portuguese, German, English, Tswana, Basotho, all South Africans, Khoisan, all of you. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. There are evil forces at work here. Yes, that's right, evil people whose intention is to bifurcate this society and divide it on race. There are people seeking to stoke racial hatred on a daily basis, whether it's singing songs that aren't liberation songs, and even if it was a liberation song, the liberation struggle ended over 30 years ago. It's unreasonable to continue that bile and garbage today, singing songs about hatred and hating people and murdering people. Why would anybody in the right mind do that? These very same people, the ones running around tearing down statues, complaining about the historic past and how that was bigoted and racist. But they don't see the hypocrisy of singing a song that today they sing to call for the murder. Statues don't call for the murder, they simply mark history. Don't fall for it, folks. Don't fall for it. It's absolute garbage.
Yeah, so another video I did when I was there. A couple videos, interviews with Retief Odendaal. And then this is in Amasumtoti.
So this morning I thought that I would take a moment to refute the narrative that Jacob Zuma's a Zulu. It turns out Jacob Zuma is not Zulu. Yeah, who knew it? He's actually, get this folks, Jacob Zuma is Irish. That's right, Jay-Z is Irish. What do you mean he's Irish? Oh, how else do you explain his luck of the Irish? I'll tell you what an amazing coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, that the Minister of Injustice, Ronnie Lamola, announces the commutation and clemency for 9,600 non-violent offenders, releasing nearly 10,000 criminals back onto South Africa Street the same day that Jacob Zuma is to report to the escort prison to complete the sentence he skipped out.
I was being facetious. I said that he has the luck of the Irish, so Zuma's not Zulu, he's Irish. Anyway, that's what I was saying in that one, so I was just having a bit of fun. A bit of fun. Anyway, all right, that's enough of that, folks. I've been at this now for 2 hours plus. My tooth doesn't bother me. Should be able to sleep now, so thank you guys. Mickey and Minnie Mouse are in the public domain now. Oh, cool. I'll start using them. I'm no DA supporter, but it looks like Chris Pappas is doing well in KZN. Oh, he's doing very well in KZN. He's the premier candidate. Not that the DA is going to win the premiership in KwaZulu-Natal, but he'll remain mayor. So, yeah. No, not Shona. I was just joking around. So, anyway, thank you all. Merry Christmas. Oh, we passed that. Happy New Year. Happy 2024. Chadwick Alexander, good to see you there. Edward Dean, hearing rumors that some municipalities are independent from ESCOM. No, the municipalities are not independent from ESCOM, although Cape Town has made great strides to reduce their demand. Thank you all so much. Be sure to hit the like button. We did get 249 people here, and this was New Year's, my third broadcast of December 31st, and this one ran into January 1st, as you can see on the clock back there. 119 on 1/1/24. All right, folks, got rugby tomorrow morning. And I'll debate whether to broadcast it. I may do the Connacht game. I'll probably do the Leinster game later in the day. And we'll do the news on New Year's Day. And then, of course, I've got my, I double check that Leinster game because I've got hockey at 3 and I don't want to miss that game. So the Leinster game is at 12:15. So I can watch the Leinster because it'll be over at 2:15 and the hockey comes on at 3. So there you go. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for joining me, and take care of yourselves. It's been a distinct pleasure to have you with me. And let's start out 2024 with a good year. We had a nice turnout on Super Chat for this. Appreciate that. I think I've been with you now for 2-3 years in a row. Crazy to think about. It is crazy to think about R1. The first one was December 31st of 2020, 21, 22, 23. It's now 4 years that I've done these programs. Good night, y'all. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you here later on today. Happy New Year. And to Brett, it's now New Year's for Brett in Mississippi. And Courtney will have New Year's here in the next 40 minutes. So Happy New Year to him as well. Cheers, everybody.